Welcome to the Racing Insiders on MAVTV, the only show you're ever going to see anywhere on sports cars. Every week here on MAVTV, the Racing Insiders. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. We've got Peter Keene on a roof at the Watkins Glen. Peter, how's the racing out there?
It's great. Just trying to stay dry here, Bill. You know, it's been rainy all weekend.
We've also got Jim Daniels in Memphis, Tennessee. Jim, what's going on?
Hey, look, we got 5 exploding left rear Pirellis in Formula One this weekend. We got the Pirelli World Challenge going to Lime Rock. It's going to be very interesting what's coming up here soon. Great show today, Bill.
It is a huge show. We've got headlines all over the country. We've got the 6 hours at the Glen. Peter Keene is there, is going to give us right in the heads of some of the dominant drivers in the series. We also have history being made at Pikes Peak with Sebastian Loeb, one of the fastest runs up a mountain you will ever see. We've got Global Rallycross in Munich. Richard Westbrook is going to give us some background on new things coming from Corvette. We've got Formula Drift that's coming up this week, a big win from the defending champion. And are you kidding me? Things that are bumping around in our heads, things you won't hear anywhere else. Let's get on with the show. Let's go right now to Watkins Glen. Peter Keene is there with the Spirit of Daytona team. He was in the ear of the drivers all day. Peter, how did it go? You were dominating the race at one time.
Yeah, we had a dominant car today, and it's really upsetting. I mean, we had a miscue. Essentially, the rain was coming, and we were at the end of our fuel stint. You know, it's racing. You're trying to stretch the fuel as far as you can, and we ended up getting caught in the big downpour, and Ricky, passing a GT car, slid off the racetrack and then I think we broke reverse and couldn't back up and get going. So we, ended up going a lap down, and then Westbrook drove his rear end off and unlapped us on the racetrack under green and dry. So, I mean, it's upsetting. We definitely had the fastest car here today, and, it's just one of those things where you're trying to stretch the mileage, and it catches you out.
I watched that move Ricky put on that Patron GT car, Peter, and I was yelling at the screen for him not to go any wider. The GT car was on the rain line. Ricky tried to go outside that rain line, and that was that. And the seam stuck against that wall, and the 99 car drove in on him as well. 2 or 3 cars went off there. The 6.2 Ferrari went off with him as well. It was reminiscent of that race where they all crashed into the wall, back a decade or so ago. But from a driver's standpoint, you want to stay on slicks. There's an old saying Mario Andretti once said, "I've never lost a race by going to the reins. I've only ever lost them by staying on the slicks." That's because our mentality as a driver is to stay on those sticky tires no matter what. Ricky paid the price for that today, albeit it wasn't his fault. You guys were going to pit on that lap. Peter, what I found was really interesting was how much Westbrook drove that car. I watched both of his stints. He drove like a total different person after that incident. How does that happen?
Yeah,
or, what's his mindset?
I got to tell you, Jim, when Westbrook gets the bit in his mouth, then he can go. I mean, he was wearing people out. He was, a couple seconds faster than the leaders there at one point. He's unbelievable. When he gets mad, he's going someplace. That's for sure.
When you're spotting Peter, does he want to hear from you, or do you just leave him alone and let him take off?
Well, when you're not talking enough, he's yelling at you because you're not talking enough. And then when you're talking too much. So you're just always in trouble with him.
To
be honest with you, he wants pertinent information, and he's just a very competitive guy that, you could see that on some of the passes he made there in the dry to unlap himself. I mean, there was not anything going to stop him. So he wants good information. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want any frosting. Let's put it that way.
So, Jim Daniels there in Memphis, Tennessee. Tell us about the GT activity at Watkins Glen.
Well, it was interesting. We had the whole race was trying to find a leader. Again, this Camaro with John Edwards and Robin Liddell, they find themselves in victory circle. But it wasn't pretty. There was several times the Ferraris had the pace. Peter, you probably agree with me. Those GT Ferraris are absolutely fast. I know that the Camaro has a little bit of legs on them off the slow speed turns. The Ferrari has them on top end, and opposite for the Porsche. The Porsche is a little bit lacking off the turns, and it has top end on both of those 2 cars. But, for a long time, I thought a Ferrari was going to win this thing. And then what happens? They get out front. I don't know if you guys watched John Edwards' stint where he made that car wide. He made that car as wide as the track. It was kind of masterful. And so I had to send him a tweet and say, that was how this was won. You didn't find yourself dropping back 3 or 4 spots on speed because of your defensive skills.
Coming up right after this, we've still got one of the biggest stories of the weekend, Pikes Peak. Change the paradigm on how they're going to be running at Pikes Peak in the future. An electric car is in the top 5. We'll be right back.
Let us know what you think about what the Racing Insiders have to say. Tell us on Facebook and Twitter.
This is a huge story, the Pikes Peak International Hill Climb. It was almost dead for a while. Nobody cared. But now, after this weekend, it's a huge event again globally. Maybe not so much here in the United States, but Sebastian Loeb, 9-time World Rally Champion, and Peugeot put together an awesome car and package, went up the mountain in 8:13.878. It's a huge, in a series that racing is governed by splits of seconds. He took almost a minute and a half off the record set last year by Reese Millen. Millen came in second at 9:02, I think 1:92. It was a huge change. Jim, let me go to you first. What do you think about all this?
Well, I'm just going to have to do the bow down to Mr. Loeb. You run an 8:13 there. There's been 1,000 horsepower, massive downforce cars there for a very long time. It takes, that's a given that Peugeot brought the ultimate car, but so has people in the past. What they did this year, though, is they brought an ultimate driver who's touching the waters with his toes in different types of motorsports. And I got to tell you, this guy needs to be driving cars in different series, not just these hill climbs and rally championships. I'd love to see him behind a FIA GT car, DTM car, like he did that one weekend. I wish I could say what I want to say on air, but he could kick bleep in most anything that he drives. And I could hardly stay focused on what was going on with the electric car at the event because I was just in awe following him on Twitter in these runs. Peter?
Well, no, I completely agree with you, Jim. That's the same place I'd go. I mean, yeah, Peugeot brought all the money and all the equipment, but man, you finally put a real driver in there. And, Bill's been saying in his praises for as long as I've known Bill Wood. He's been saying he's the best driver in the world, and he flat put it on him today.
I mean, it was a huge thing. If you watch the video overhead, he had more speed than Millen going into the turns. He carried more speed out of it. He was visibly faster than everyone else going up the hill. But the biggest thing that we will be talking about for months, maybe years to come, is Monster Tajima, the former king of the hill until last year, who went up the hill in 9:46.530, a stunning time in an electric car. He told me about a year ago, a little over a year ago, that he could make this run in under 10 minutes, and I'd laughed at him. Well, again, I've been proven wrong. 9:46.530 after the road surface had changed. There'd been a little moisture on the road from weather changing in the area, and he still went up the hill that fast in an electric car. It's the 5th fastest time. In fact, he was faster than Paul Dallenbach on Section 2, and Dallenbach was driving the car that set the record last year. It's hard to believe. Makes you wonder about Nissan, who plans to run an all-electric car in the Le Mans 24-hour next season, that maybe they have a chance to pull this off. Now, let's get to Global Rallycross. 2 events at the Munich X Games. Saturday's round was won by Liam Doran in a Mini. He had a chance to take the car in front of the factory teams in Mini that were there in Munich. Second was Ken Block, and third was Toomas Heikkinen. There was an awesome run. I think they're having a problem, though. We talked about this a little bit earlier, Jim. They're having a problem with maybe too many cars on the track. Normally you run with 6 or 7 cars in the finale, but for some reason, maybe it's for television, they're trying to put 10 cars into a space for 1. What's that the recipe for, Jim?
Well, it's a recipe for disaster. What happens, you get these teams and all these financial commitments, you got sponsors, you got a lot of people that need to see their cars do well based on their potential, performance potential. And what you have is a crapshoot at a turn that's not designed for the amount of cars they want to run the race. I don't know how this could be good for spectators. I'm a spectator. I'm also an insider and a racer myself. I don't like to see a bunch of guys crash their car. I don't like to see the fastest guy get taken out by somebody that's 4 rows back. I don't understand how that's exciting.
Well, Jim, I'm going to go the other way on that. I mean, it's worked for Supercross for the whole time. You watch that arena racing, they fan them out and send them down into a funnel, and, sometimes the big dogs get knocked down and sometimes it's the little ones, It sure makes Supercross exciting. So, I mean, maybe that's the marketing angle for Global Rallycross. They're trying to just, give it a different pitch.
Yeah, you might be right, Peter. There might be more there than we believe. I just think bonsai runs down the inside that always end up with somebody being broken. Tanner Faust, I don't know. He's the 2-time defending champion, and I don't know that he's gotten into the second turn of any of the finales this year. I mean, it doesn't make sense. On Sunday, the race was won by Toomas Heikkinen, who got the bronze medal on Saturday. He won it going away. Really tough run for him. The Ford Escort, the Ford Fiestas are really doing well. The Olsberg's team is in charge of all those cars. Toomas Heikkinen is a young kid. He's very disciplined, and he's able to get on the front row and get good starts and outrun some of these guys. He's got experience in the European Rallycross, and he could get in front of the melee, and maybe that's what's been his success so far this year. We're still going strong with the Racing Insiders here on MAVTV. We've got more on Global Rallycross and a little bit of maybe the Corvette's future in the ALMS. And we'll hear about a little drift champion coming up right after this. Be right back.
This segment of the Racing Insiders was brought to you by GoRacingTV.com. For racers, by racers.
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Jim Daniels is in Memphis, Tennessee, and we've got Peter Keene on a roof at the Watkins Glen, where they had the 6-hour this weekend. Before the event, though, he had a chance to talk to Richard Westbrook about some news out of the Corvette Corral in Le Mans, the American Le Mans Series. Peter, how'd it go?
Well, yeah, I got to sit down with Richard and talk about Le Mans a little bit. They were kind of disappointed in their effort. Porsche kind of snookered them this year at Le Mans, with the rules makers, but they're really excited about that new C7R coming for next year. Here's what Richard had to say about that new program and Le Mans. All right, Bill, I'm here with Richard Westbrook, our driver of the number 90 Spirit of Daytona GoPro Chevrolet Corvette. Richard, you just kind of run at Le Mans. I know it was kind of a tough weekend there, and the Corvettes are a little bit off the pace. You want to talk about that? I think Porsche kind of put it on you guys a little bit.
Yeah, Le Mans was Le Mans. It was last weekend, so when you leave the track, you try and forget about it, and until you brought it out. It was a really tough Le Mans for us. It's we have to look into it, why we struggle for pace. It could be any number of things. There's some balance performance issues. The other cars are for sure much quicker than they were last year. We lacked some speed down the straight, but there's a lot of work for the guys to do to really look into it. I don't think there's any one thing, right. But for sure we don't turn up there to make up the numbers. Corvette go there to win, and it was a tough week for everyone involved in the team, and knowing all the guys there, I just think we're going to come back stronger for next year.
Excellent. I know that the C7's coming for next year, and that program's well underway.
Yeah, and but we all wanted to go out with a win with the C6. I mean, it's been such a successful car, and everyone was well aware this is the last time this great car is going to be racing at Le Mans, and it's done so well at Le Mans, and each driver wanted to go out in that car with a victory, and so it was very disappointing from that respect, but it won't do us any harm. It's just going to make us stronger and hungrier, and we know we've got more work to do now with the C7, so it's not going to be a bad thing.
Good interview, Peter. It's always good to get some background on drivers, especially one at the highest levels, Richard Westbrook. Jim, you had something to add to that conversation?
Yeah, I happened to be in Bowling Green last weekend with some friends for a 51st birthday party of one of the race sponsors, and we went through the Corvette plan. I got a chance to talk to some interesting people there, and the buzzword that I'm hearing is the wind tunnel for this new car. The drag coefficient, if we don't get any more power in that Corvette, wind tunnel's looking really nice, Bill.
Wow, that's at the high-speed tracks like Le Mans and Sebring, where they have good speeds, even with the bumpy. It's going to be important in the American Le Mans series. That's with that kind of speed out of the Corvette. That'll be good to see for all the Corvette fans. Let's go to Formula Drift right now. Had a chance to talk to the defending champion, Daigo Saito, after he won at Wall Speedway in New Jersey. Here's that interview. Round 4, the Gauntlet Formula Drift was at Wall Speedway, Wall, New Jersey, Saturday night. The winner, defending champion, Daigo Saito. He's with us now with translator Robbie Nishida. Daigo, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It was a big win. You expanded your points lead, beating second place Vaughn Gittin in the top 16 round. It must have given you some confidence.
でもまだやっぱ3戦あるし、フォーミュラ D 結構ポイントが一気に逆転するんで、後ろ抜かないように頑張りたいと思います。He knows there's 3 more rounds in the Formula D series, and you gain a lot of points within those 3 rounds, so he's going to make sure that he's going to be on top of his game.
You had one close call. I think it was in the final 4 with Fredrik Aspo of Norway. You had to go one more time. Were you worried at all?
やっぱフレドリックすごい強い相手で、ロングビーチでもワンモアタイム何回もやってるんで、逆に覚悟はしてたんで大丈夫です。He already had previous runs with Frederick in Long Beach, and he had to do many more times then too. But he was already looking forward to doing many more times. He was pretty comfortable doing that.
Hey, Robbie, thank you. Daigo, thank you to both of you. Go celebrate. Round 5, Monroe, Washington, next month, July 19 and 20 outside Seattle.
Thank you.
Daigo Saito, the defending champion in Formula Drift. He is one of the best drifters in the world and proves it every time he gets a chance. Coming up right after this, what's in our heads? Are you kidding me? We get a chance to hear some thoughts bumping around what's going on with the Racing Insiders on MAVTV. We'll be right back after this.
This segment was brought to you by the Sports Car Club of America.
Are you kidding me?
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders on MAVTV. It's time for Are You Kidding Me? You get a chance to hear what we think about. Peter, let's go to you first.
Well, I'm going to be selfish, and this is probably going to get me in trouble, but my Are You Kidding Me is here. Spirit of Daytona, the GoPro Chevrolet Corvette had the fastest car here today, and 3 great drivers, and Westbrook, Garcia, and Ricky Taylor, and we flat just didn't get it done. We made a couple mistakes at pit stops, and then we were trying to stretch the fuel and got caught out by rain. I mean, my Are You Kidding Me is Spirit of Daytona. We just got to execute a little bit better, and that's probably not a good thing to say.
Jim, what do you think?
My Are You Kidding Me is our show. We had Matt Bell on our show, and he gave Nick Longy a little slam about being a gentleman. And what happens on lap 1? Nick Longy runs right down into turn 1 and turns him around. And then we had Dr. Morgan on here in the GX car. He says he was worried about those Mazdas not lasting. He thought the 6-hour was going to be his race because of the reliability of that Porsche. And what's he do? He blows it up heading out into the carousel. So I got text messages and our social messages about those 2 interviews, and comments was made on our show first. Of course, they followed them up on the broadcast today, but you heard it on the Racing Insiders first. My Are You Kidding Me is, are we jinxing these guys already, Bill?
That's pretty good. My Are You Kidding Me is Pikes Peak. I'm not going to talk about Sebastian Loeb again. It's evident at 8:13 is an enormous number. But I think what Monster Tajima did with an electric car to get under 10 minutes when the barrier for 10 minutes was just broken in the last couple of years, to get under that and be faster than the record setter last year on one section of going up the hill, I think that's phenomenal. The technology for electric cars is going to look good with Nissan building an electric car for Le Mans next year. It looks, people laughed at it maybe, but I can't laugh anymore. This is good. The battery power and so forth. It's good to see electric cars doing so well in racing competition. We got more coming up on the Racing Insiders right after this. Still a little more about what's happening this weekend. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Racing Insiders on MAVTV. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Peter Keene is not in Florida this time. He's at the Glen, and Jim Daniels is in Memphis. Guys, what do you got going on this weekend? Peter, let's start with you.
Well, I'm just going to take a weekend off and relax a little bit and probably watch Antonio Garcia win the GT race at Lime Rock in the AMLS series. That's my plan. How about you, Jim?
Hey, with 5 Pirelli tires exploding in the Formula One race at Silverstone, all left rears, the social media has been going crazy with what's going to happen with these Pirellis in the Pirelli World Challenge class. My eyes are going to be glued to the TV and to Twitter to see if we have any carcass problems on those tires. Bill?
I'm going to throw in a couple of things. V8 supercars are running this weekend, and the FIA GT cars are also running, but the big weekend is at ALMS at Lime Rock. That little bull ring track, there's going to be a bunch of bumping and banging. It's going to be a good show to watch. That's the Racing Insiders on MAVTV. Want to see you on social media coming up this weekend. Want to know what you're thinking about. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Like us on Facebook. Want to see you. In the meantime, take care of each other. Respect each other. We'll see you next week here on the Racing Insiders. Until then, peace.